Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the director. Chargers fans, we're going to do something a little bit different today. An off-the-cuff video for the director. 2022 NFL trade targets for the Chargers. I know we're still in the season. A good chance to make the postseason, as a matter of fact. But I keep telling you guys, the 2022 year for the Bolts is going to be huge. $80+ million in cap space next season. You got a third-year quarterback in Justin Herbert, who's a superstar. You got second-year head coach Brandin Staley, who's got a great record coming in to the league fresh. I don't know, man. I think the Chargers next season need to have the all-in mentality. We need to go to a Super Bowl before we got to pay a Justin Herbert. A couple of days ago, Brandin Staley was talking to, a press conference about Brandin Cooks. Of course, play the Texans coming up in a couple of days. He had a lot of good things to say about Brandin Cooks. Not just because, we want to compliment our opponent, but he's got a lot of connections to this staff. Was there some connections there that would maybe lead to a trade? I don't know. It's all speculative, but in today's video, we're going to go over a lot of players that I think would make sense for the Chargers to target with a trade, because of course, you got the draft capital right now, right? You got, 4 compensatory picks for the Chargers. Sure, a lot of them are late rounders, but sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes teams are in a bad position. They need to free up some money. You can get these guys on the cheap via draft capital. So it should be a good one today, man. We got a lot of players to go over. I'm kind of doing this video off the cuff. It should be a good time. Now, before we do get started, as a reminder, as one of your final reminders, we have got a giveaway going on right now. I think it ends in like 4 days, dudes. We're going to be giving these away around Christmas time. We got a signed Justin Herbert jersey for one of my lucky subscribers. All you got to do to enter for this jersey is hit up the link in the description. Follow the instructions there. Very, very simple. And again, make sure you are subscribed. Only subs can win. But of course, we also take care of our crew members around here, guys. Crew members, thank you so much for everything you do around here. We got a signed full-size Keenan Allen helmet from one of you guys. All you got to do to be entered for this is be a member of my crew, and that's it. Again, guys, crew members, thank you so much. Keep the lights on around here. And with that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. 50,000 subs, what I got my eyes on, baby. Let's go. That's the next goal. With that, let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. 2022 NFL trade targets that the Chargers should consider. So what I did here, I went through all of the cap space for every single team. I kind of looked at every team's situation, every team's players that they might be looking to trade if they're put into a position where it'd be beneficial to them. And I came up with a list of names, and we're going to talk about those guys today. In the comments section below, I do invite you guys to also list names that are maybe not in this video, and also let me know for some of your favorite guys you do see in this video, what you think they would cost as far as compensation. I'm talking, draft capital. I'm talking maybe, sometimes it's coming down to money. You never know. You never know. So you'll see down here the New Orleans Saints minus $60 million to start the season next year. We'll actually make this a little bigger for the boys in the back. It's minus $60 million, which is absolutely insane. With the Chargers here at number 1 at $74 million. After cuts, you're probably looking closer to $85, $90 million. Kind of insane. So let's start the list off here with Brandin Cooks that I did allude to before. Again, Coach Staley talking a lot about Brandin Cooks. He likes Brandin Cooks, but the beautiful thing about Brandin Cooks is his speed and playability. He's kind of the poor man's Tyreek Hill out there. Very, very good speed. 28 years old, so he is coming into the twilight years of his season as a wide receiver, but he's still got a good, solid 4 or 5 years left, in his career. You match him up with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, beautiful things will happen. Stretching the field, defenders will have to back off. You can feature Brandin Cooks as one of your speed guys out there. He would be a fantastic add to this team, and honestly a trade that would make Chargers fans super excited. Brandin Cooks is the only good thing about the Houston Texans as of right now. You guys know the Houston Texans, they are likely to trade anybody on their team. Maybe even a Deshaun Watson coming into the future. So Brandin Cooks would be great. As far as trade, compensation and stuff like that, I'm going to kind of like spitball it, I guess. We don't really have the numbers for that. It's really hard to project that, but Brandin Cooks to me would be worth like a second or third round pick, and one that I think would be beneficial to the Chargers, depending on what their wide receiver situation looks like in 2022. But you guys let me know. You can rate it if you want in the comment section. What do you think about Brandin Cooks to the Chargers? Would it be worth it? Okay. Now, a lot of these guys, too. Next up, we got Rob Havenstein, 29 years old. A lot of these guys I did select because they are on a contract year. And if you look at the trends in the NFL, a lot of teams do like to trade those players away before it's too late. Like, oh, man, do we extend him? We don't know. The Chargers do have some positions that they need to fill for next season. Rob Havenstein playing right tackle. He's been pretty good. He's got familiarity with Brandon Staley. Next season in 2022, he will be a free agent. Yes, there's going to be some dead cap there, but the Rams aren't looking spectacular in the cap space situation right now. They got some superstars that they got to pay to. So Rob would be a great addition to this Chargers team that likely needs to move on from a Brian Bulaga. He's been injury riddled. I don't know. I don't think Brandon Bulaga stays with the team, unfortunately, because of his injury history. Rob Havenstein would be a nice replacement, at least in the short term, for the Chargers. Because when it comes to offensive linemen, sure, every once in a while you'll get lucky. You got a Jedrick Wills, you got a Rashawn Slater that can come in and just be a superstar right away. More times than not, though, it's going to take some time for these offensive linemen to gel, get some chemistry with the players they're playing besides, and then just grow as a player naturally through the NFL and their experience. And I don't know if the Chargers have time to wait. So when it comes to the offensive line, definitely go out there and get a veteran. Definitely go out there. We saw the repercussions of that this season with Abushi, Filer, and Lindsley, of course. I want to see more of that next season. Make sure that this team is ready and set, and also go out there and get some depth for your swing tackle and your guards and stuff like that too. Either way, we need a starting right tackle. Havenstein looks pretty nice to me. Next up, McGlinchey. Speaking of players on a contract season, McGlinchey's been pretty good, I would say, for the San Francisco 49ers. Again, we just went over the Brian Bulaga situation. You want to go out there and get a reliable right tackle. As far as the best right tackles in the league, I don't know if I'd put McGlinchey up there, but he's definitely serviceable. He'd be playing next to a couple of solid guys, too. McGlinchey's definitely one of those guys I have my eye on as well. The right tackle situation must be figured out next offseason. If the Chargers decide, hey, maybe we'll give Brian Bulaga one more chance, we can all cross our fingers and hope that he stays healthy and that he, plays up to his potential. But at this point, I think it's smarter for the Chargers to go after something reliable while they have the Super Bowl window in front of them. Next up, we got Alexander Mattison. 23 years old as of right now. You guys, if you play fantasy football and you draft, let's say, a Dalvin Cook, right? I drafted him in one of my 5 or 6 leagues, something like that. You're going to go get Alexander Mattison as well as a backup, given, Dalvin Cook's injury history. And when Alexander Mattison has been on the field, he has been spectacular. He's been that I'll do it back. He's been that bruiser. He's been the zone runner, power runner, everything. He's been fantastic. Kind of reminds me of the days where the Chargers had Michael Turner as a backup, right? Turner went on with the Atlanta Falcons, and he had a fantastic career once he, broke out as his own running back, not behind anybody else. Alexander Mattison kind of reminds me of that situation a little bit, and where the Chargers are right now at running back, they've got their guy in Austin Eckler. They needed somebody to complement him behind. We've seen flashes for Justin Jackson, sometimes maybe not Joshua Kelly, sometimes maybe Larry Roundtree. The Chargers need an answer, and Alexander Mattison, to me, wouldn't be especially expensive, right? And he would do everything the Chargers need him to do behind an Austin Eckler. So I like Alexander Mattison. Again, a free agent in 2022. The Vikings can get some sort of trade compensation back, and I think it would solve the Chargers running back situation rather than maybe gambling on a 3rd or 4th round guy. Sometimes that doesn't really work out. I've seen it. Alexander Mattison is fantastic, and he's a guy that I think fits what the Chargers need right now. So if he costs like a 5th or 6th round pick, cool, that's fine. He's going to give you more than a running back than what you could draft in the 5th or 6th round. Give me Alexander Mattison all day. Next up, Mecole Hardman. These trades are really hard to pull off between division rivals. You rarely see it. They don't want to see their division opponent, get any sort of advantage in any area that they needed. But this is an exception for me because of what Mecole offers. It feels like they drafted Mecole Hardman to be Tyreek Hill 2.0. The problem is, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to stop featuring Tyreek Hill? He's going to be as effective as Tyreek Hill. Are they going to play the same position and swap in and out? No, you're going to feature Tyreek Hill, and that's really kind of put a cap on what Mecole Hardman can do. Sure, Hardman's had some drop problems, maybe not getting open as often, but he's your speed guy, right? Really what the Chargers are looking for, a lot like what I was talking about with Brandin Cooks, the Chargers just need that speed. We see what Jalen Guyton can do on those go routes. We see what that speed matched up with Justin Herbert's arm can do. Maybe give him some more weapons with that kind of breakneck speed. This league is transformed into a speed league. You want to make sure you got those guys in there. You already have half the formula done. Half the homework is done with Justin Herbert. Go get him some speedy guys out there. And again, Mecole on a contract year. He's not going to cost a lot. I don't know. It just makes sense for the Chargers. Doesn't make sense for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think so. But at the same time, it's one that you got to mention. Next up, Jack Conklin. Former Tennessee Titan, if I remember right. I don't know. He's on a contract year too. I do not expect a lot of these teams to be like, yo, yeah, come on in here. Throw us a low ball offer. We're going to get you Jack Conklin on the cheap. That's not going to happen. This is one of those trades where it's like, dude, yeah, you're going to have to pay up for Conklin, right? You're going to have to give some sort of nice, compensation, given that he's on a contract year too, which I do believe he's not. No, he's not on a contract year. Either way, if you want a solid right tackle, you want a proven guy, you're going all in, you're really concerned about right tackle, Conklin is going to be one of those guys that I'm definitely like, he's going to be, higher on the board for me. And Conklin would be fantastic. I don't know if I have to say much about him. He's pretty much proven. He's really good. And the Chargers need a right tackle. There you go. Next up, Jamaal Williams. Okay, so I almost kind of wish I put these in order of like position, but it's fine, right? Because we can backtrack a little bit. Jamaal Williams, what he brings you individually as a player, he does look like a bruiser to me. Some people would say he's like a zone runner, whatever. He's a bruiser to me. He's a very, very tough running back. Just like we talked about with Alexander Mattison, he would offer exactly what the Chargers need as a complement to Austin Eckler. I like Jamaal Williams. Again, is he on a contract year too? Yes, he is. He is on a contract year. With the Lions running back situation, though, they ran into a lot of injury stuff with Andre Swift, right? So I maybe they keep him. I don't know, but I think Jamaal Williams would be a nice add for the Chargers. Next up, Xavien Howard. We're kind of reopening up this can of worms, right? Like, we talked a lot about Xavien Howard coming to the Chargers last off season. He had issues where he felt like he wasn't being compensated well enough. They had Byron Jones on the roster as well, but Xavien Howard led the league in picks last season. I don't know how he's doing this year. Let's see. Let's go ahead and click on the stats. And we're on the off-the-cuff video today. How's he doing in 2021? 4 interceptions. That's not bad. I mean, but you look at the double digits from last year in 2020, 10 interceptions, then 4 this season with 3 or 4 more games to go this year. He's definitely not going to do 10 interceptions over and over, but he does offer that turnover, playability, which I do like. And Xavien Howard would offer the Chargers, again, the cornerback position. I'll save some of the details for later because, again, there's more corners on this list, but the Chargers need cornerbacks. And I think that's kind of been exposed this season. Michael Davis, he's great. Solid cornerback, too. Asante Samuel Jr. is really coming into his own. Maybe the Chargers cornerback 1 at this point. But after that, the depth has been an issue. Chris Harris Jr. has been an issue. The Chargers got to figure out an answer here. And Xavien Howard, again, who would cost a high round pick, I still think would be worth it. Brandon Staley, when he's given a situation with a cornerback like, let's say, Jalen Ramsey with the Los Angeles Rams, he does great things. You match him up with a safety like Derwin James, I mean, Xavien Howard would be absolutely stupid good. So we'll talk more about more corners in a second, but Xavien Howard, definitely somebody that you want to consider trading for, and one maybe that the Miami Dolphins would consider. They like draft capital. They got Byron Jones out there in a really high contract. Maybe they try to save some money. You never know. Next up, Daron Payne, Washington football team. Payne's been awesome. I think that entire, defensive front has been pretty awesome for Washington. So you could really say, hey, director, go after any of these guys, maybe outside of Chase Young, who they're not going to trade no matter what. Daron Payne might be a good move. Jonathan Allen might be a good move. Even Montez Sweat would be a good move. Those guys are absolutely loaded on the defensive line. So go out there and get yourself maybe an edge player in Montez Sweat. Daron Payne, to me, makes a lot of sense, too. We need to help the Chargers out in their run defense, right? Am I right, Chargers fans? Chargers have not been good versus the run, so defensive tackle is going to be a big thing for them to focus on this offseason. Daron Payne would be awesome. What's his contract looking like? He's a free agent after 2022. No dead cap for them. Savings, up the butt. I think it would be a good move for the Washington football team, which, again, a lot of these teams that I've been targeting, the Detroit Lions, they're not going anywhere until they get a new quarterback that's not named Jared Goff. The Browns look good. The Chiefs look good. Who knows about these guys with the backup running back? A lot of these teams, they're either in situations where it makes sense, contract years, or they're rebuilding. And with the Washington football team, maybe they start thinking about rebuild, because who's going to be their quarterback, right? Heineke's been okay. It's going to be a minute till this team is, relevant even outside of their awesome defense. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Next up, Eddie Goldman of the Chicago Bears. Familiarity with the coaching staff and Brandon Staley. He knows this man. And I think that Eddie Goldman is severely underrated. He's a fantastic defensive tackle. The Bears haven't been doing much in terms of winning football games. We all saw that Monday Night Football game, right? But at the same time, you're looking at, a really nice defense that has been sprinkled with a Brandon Staley at one point. Eddie Goldman, to me, he would be a fantastic and cheap option for the Chargers to bring in at defensive tackle. He's under contract until 2024. So I don't know. It just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that the Chargers go after a run stopper. If we're talking about maybe on the cheap, Eddie Goldman would be a great option. If we want somebody that's a little bit more elite, Vita Vea would be a great option too. That I don't think in any universe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would trade away. But we don't know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation. Are they going to continue riding with Tom Brady? Is Tom Brady done after this season? Are they going to have to rebuild? If they decide that they're getting close to a rebuild phase, then maybe Vita Vea makes sense to trade away. He would warrant a first-round pick and then some, in my opinion. But when it comes to the scheme that the Los Angeles Chargers are implementing, you want yourself an elite nose tackle, and I really can't think of anybody better than Vita Vea at that position at this point. If you're going to throw a lot of draft capital at one player, Vita Vea makes a lot of sense to me too. Now, if you want somebody that's kind of in between an Eddie Goldman and a Vita Vea, not Marcus Peters. Where's the other guy? We'll get to him in a minute. It's Pierce. But we'll get to Pierce in a second. He's somewhere down this list. Marcus Peters up for the Baltimore Ravens at cornerback. Left turn, director. Left turn. Cornerback, we just talked about. We need more help at cornerback. Marcus Peters, 28 years old, very elite. We know what he does. Again, the Chargers could go into the draft and say, dudes, we're going to be in like the mid-20s, hopefully, maybe even number 32. You never know. I don't know if we're in a position to go out there and say, hey, let's just draft our next corner, because it's going to take time for that cornerback to come in there and make an impact. The Chargers got really lucky this season, really lucky with Rashawn Slater, instant starter, probably an all-pro, left tackle. We got really lucky with Asante Samuel Jr., who's an instant starter, impact player. That doesn't happen too often, and especially when you're talking about a pick in the mid to low 20s, right? Marcus Peters, to me, gives more insurance that you're going to get a quality starter in right now when the Chargers need it, because at this point the Chargers need another starter at cornerback. Marcus Peters is great. The Baltimore Ravens, they have a lot of good, really a lot of depth at the defensive back positions. I don't know. It just kind of makes sense for me. Is he on a contract year? Yes, he is. So, I mean, if they're going to get something, might as well get it now. There is some dead cap to talk about, but it's just kind of one of those where it's like a last ditch. Like, hey, maybe they draft a cornerback. Maybe they sign another cornerback. Maybe Marcus Peters. Their cup overfloweth, right? Maybe they can get rid of one guy, grab some draft capital. He would be a higher draft capital guy anyway, but one that makes sense for the Bolts. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of like superstar premier players on this list too. And here's one of them, okay? Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, to me, makes a lot of sense to the Chargers. Brandon Staley, he was an outside linebackers coach with the Chicago Bears. He knows Khalil Mack. I think he was one of the guys that helped bring Khalil Mack into the system for the Bears. The Bears are in a bad way. I do like their quarterback in Justin Fields, but who knows how long it's going to take for him to develop. How long is he under contract for? Until 2025. Are they going to really realistically be in a Super Bowl kind of, phase for the Chicago Bears by the time? And he's getting older. He'll be 35 at that point. I just think if you're looking for a Super Bowl window, a move like this would definitely put you in the front of the pack. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa on the same team. would be just so stupid good. And Khalil Mack's still the kind of player that can warrant a high draft capital compensation from a trade partner. I don't know, man. I think the Bears, they still have a ways to go as far as rebuilding. Their defense is fine. Their offense needs a lot of help. Khalil Mack would help them in that rebuild, bring in some draft capital, and honestly, it would give the Chargers one of the most lethal pass rushes in the NFL, maybe that we've seen in a long time. He would cost a lot of money, which the Chargers do have. It would free up a lot of money for the Chicago Bears. His potential out, you'll see right here, is in 2022. So if they decide to get rid of him, they're not the dead cap could be a lot worse, right? And they would save quite a bit of money. So I don't know. Khalil Mack's kind of one of those superstar moves where it's like, hey, we're going to a Super Bowl. We're going to go grab Khalil Mack and we're going to make this thing happen. It's kind of where I'm at with that. Taylor Moton of the Carolina Panthers, who, again, Carolina, what happened? They were looking so good and all of a sudden fell off a cliff. They're in quarterback hell. There's really no good quarterbacks in this upcoming draft. Might as well try and get some compensation for some guys on your roster. He's under contract till 2025. His next out is in 2024, but if you trade him away, who knows? Chargers need a right tackle. Grady Jarrett. Oh, this is a good one. This is one I was talking about this offseason for the Chargers to trade. I think even in the mid part of the season, the Chargers need help. Defensive tackle. And again, the Falcons, they've got some players, but not as many. And they're in the situation with Matt Ryan where they're not going to have a lot of, cap space for a while. So if the Chargers want to swoop in here and say, hey, this draft or this cap situation that you're having problems with right now, we'll get $16 million off your books and help our defensive tackle situation at the same time. Two birds, one stone. It makes a lot of sense. Grady Jarrett, 28 years old. If the Chargers need to move away from a Linval Joseph, maybe it's a money thing, maybe it's an age thing. I still think Linval Joseph is great, but if they need to move on from him, Grady Jarrett would be one of those guys on top of my list. You know what I mean? So again, he kind of fits in between the Eddie Goldman and the Vita Vea. A realistic trade could happen because it just kind of fits the margins for both teams. Grady would be an awesome option for the Bolts. Next up, Deion Jones. Speaking of Falcons, okay, they have a couple of good players on their team. This is one of them. And again, this is very situational based on what the Chargers do this offseason. I think no matter what, they've got to bring back Kyzir White. Drew Tranquill, I don't know what his contract length is. Maybe this is a free agent year for him too. But if the Chargers want to simply upgrade that inside linebacker position, they want to make sure that 3-4 scheme, your coverage linebackers are solid. Maybe they find a way to trade one of the other guys. I don't know. I think the Chargers are good at inside linebacker, but if they want to level up, Deion Jones to me is like maybe the best coverage linebacker in the league. Super fast, tall playmaker. Again, the stars would really have to align for this to make sense to me because the Chargers got two really good linebackers, but Drew Tranquill sometimes has some injury stuff. Who do we have behind him? Kenneth Murray, yeah, but he's not great in coverage. If you really want to stack that position, make sure you got guys available all the time. Deion Jones makes a lot of sense to me. He's one of the few of the Atlanta Falcons that makes sense for our team. Next up, Deebo Samuel of the 49ers. 49ers, it kind of depends on what happens with Trey Lance in the coming years. Are they for real? Are they going to, take some time? Deebo Samuel, breakout season, I would say, this year. How old is he right now? 25 years old. He's got some time. Very fast player, very reliable player. Just like we were talking about with Brandin Cooks, he would match very well with Justin Herbert. I think he makes sense. Again, his compensation, I would say maybe a day 2, high day 3 pick. Again, he just makes sense for the Chargers speed-wise. He would be a very good option. Blockbuster trade incoming. Can you guys imagine? I put out a tweet the other day like, director, what's your dream acquisition for this team if you can get anybody? And sure, I could go with the superstars like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but I think the Bosas playing together... You guys see a trend here, by the way. The superstars that I'm putting on this list have basically been pass rushers. I think the Chargers, if they're going to make a big move this offseason, go get a guy opposite Joey Bosa. If it's the other Bosa, that makes me super excited. This would be a huge blockbuster trade, by the way. I mean, the age thing is wrong here, by the way. He's not 28. He's only 24, I think, at the time. He's still on his rookie contract. The Chargers would get a great deal on him for 2022. We'd have to pay up in 2023, which the Chargers have money for. But at the same time, and he would have to give up maybe a couple of first-round picks for Nick Bosa. But at the same time, like I was saying with Khalil Mack, holy crap. would this make the Chargers pass rush the best in the NFL. You got the both of Bosas on the same team, right? You got the longevity of Nick Bosa versus a Khalil Mack. Nick Bosa only being 24, you could ride the Bosas into the 2030s. These guys would be insane together. So I don't know. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream for the director, but it's one I had to put on this list because it just made me so excited. Michael Pierce, one of my favorite targets, I would say, for this offseason too, if we have to get rid of a Linval Joseph. It kind of reminds me what happened with Linval. Linval was with the Minnesota Vikings. He got a little older. They let him go. The Chargers bring him in. Michael Pierce reminds me a lot of Linval Joseph. So just with that, you guys understand the kind of player he is. He would fit right in there at nose tackle. Next up, La'el Collins, right tackle for the Cowboys. I don't think they get rid of him. I just don't. I mean, he's under contract till 2024, but he's one of those guys you never know when it comes to trades. Chargers need a right tackle. He might be somebody the Cowboys give up. The Cowboys, they're an okay cap situation, but had to put him on the list. This next team, the next two teams, actually, as a matter of fact. I know the video is a little long, but we're off the cuff. This has got me excited, this whole topic. These next two teams are in a potential situation for this first one. Let's go ahead and show you guys the player. The Green Bay Packers and Jaire Alexander. Aaron Rodgers, if he leaves the Green Bay Packers in 2022, what is this team anymore, right? They're a team with Jordan Love, with a decent defense, some pieces on offense, not a lot of cap at all, and no quarterback. This team is going to have to really reevaluate and rediscover who they are as an organization, and maybe, just maybe, that'll push them in the direction of a rebuild. The Packers got some players, dude. They definitely got some. Jaire Alexander has been playing out of his mind. Contract year. They would save $13 million towards their cap, right? The Chargers desperately need a cornerback. This is the kind of cornerback one potential that could stack the Chargers cornerback room to sky high, right? Imagine Alexander with Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Davis. They would be set. They would definitely have to go out there and get some, depth, but Jaire Alexander would be great. Aaron Jones, who they just paid up, right? You don't want to pay a lot for running backs in the league anymore because of what we've seen this season. They got A.J. Dillon in there. I do not know why they re-signed Aaron Jones. If they want to go back and make up for that mistake, they could definitely trade Aaron Jones away. And again, he would fit the Chargers. But again, this is the kind of Aaron Jones would be super exciting. I put him on this list because, of course, he would be really good with the Bolts. But for me, I think the Chargers running back room needs a good running back two behind Austin Eckler. I don't know if we need a superstar like Aaron Jones, but he would be available. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, position of need for the Chargers, 26 years old. Contract year? No, not contract year, but it would make sense. They have an out in 2022 is why he's on this list. Makes sense for the Chargers. If the Green Bay Packers are in rebuild mode, guys like Zadarius Smith makes sense to the Chargers. Pass rush opposite Joey Bosa. Just makes sense. Just makes sense to me. And this last team, the Saints, you guys saw at the top of the video, the Saints, I don't know how these guys keep playing every season. They always start so deep in debt to the cap, and this year's going to be no difference at minus $60 million. They may be forced to trade some of their superstars away, like a Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk is one of the best right tackles in the league. He's under contract until 2026, but can they afford to keep him? I don't know. Maybe not. And they don't. What's their situation with their quarterback right now? Taysom Hill? Jameis Winston? Are they going to draft somebody? Probably not. Not a lot of good quarterbacks in 2022. I don't know. Maybe Ryan Ramczyk is one of those guys they can get some draft capital for. He's young. He's a premier player and get some money off their books. And the last player I have on here is Marshon Lattimore, who I did talk about this last offseason. We talked a lot about Brandon Staley, and this is where I'm going to put in the detail that I left out in the last one. Brandon Staley, when he's got a superstar cornerback like Jalen Ramsey, things happen that are just so unbelievably successful for a defense. You match him up again with Derwin James, Asante Samuel, even Nasir Adderley, who's been stepping up this season. The Chargers' defensive backcourt looks super solid, and there's very few guys that you can go out and get that can give you those sorts of results. Maybe Tre'Davious White of the Bills, maybe. I don't think they let him go. The situation just lines up where maybe Marshon Lattimore could become available give the Saints some nice draft capital compensation. Chargers get their cornerback one, somebody that's elite, that would fit the system, that would absolutely ball out for this team. I don't know. It's one that makes sense for me. So, 30-minute video today. But you know what? It's been fun. I wanted to do something that was less like, hey, let's go out there and like construct a video, more something like off the cuff. You know, I wanted to kind of get my thoughts out there and spill them out to you guys just to see what you think. Because again, the Chargers, their opportunity and their potential in 2022 is ridiculous. I've been a fan for a very long time. And I don't think I remember a time where the window was so obvious to me that it's like, hey, it's all in this season. We've wanted to do that for several years, especially the later years of Phillip Rivers' career. We wanted to go all in, get him that protection, maybe another wide receiver, make sure he has weapons, make sure he has time. We just didn't do it. And I think it's because the cap just really didn't make sense, right? Phillip Rivers, he was soaking up a lot of the Chargers cap. This season, it's a completely different story with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's rookie contract just opens up so much flexibility. I mean, these are just the trades we're talking about, right? Free agents, we did a video about that maybe about a month ago. We're going to be doing another one here as the season closes out, as we get more information on potential free agents. It's going to be big. It's going to be huge. And this team is already good. At 8-6, they're pretty good. They're fine, right? Especially under a new head coach and second-year quarterback. That's a good record. They could likely make the playoffs this season, and they have $75-80 million to spend next season. I mean, it's just all lining up, Chargers fans. And we'll get more videos about this and covering this as we get closer to the offseason. We want to finish out the season strong this year. I understand we want to focus on that, but at the same time, 2022 is big. And I think 2022 is so big that it deserves our attention right now. I think the 2022 season has so much potential that we should start looking into it right now. And there's a lot of things that can happen: trades, free agency, and the draft, which the Chargers, again, have a lot of capital. I would use a lot of that capital for trades, but at the same time, you never know. It's all in. It's all in, Chargers. Super Bowl or bust in 2022 and 2023. Honestly, you got to get one. You got to get one before that contract comes up for Justin Herbert. You're not going to see this kind of flexibility maybe again for the next 2-3 decades. This is the kind of window that we're in right now, Chargers fans. So let me know in the comment section below if you like any of these trade candidates, if you'd be willing to give up some premier draft capital for some of these guys like Nick Bosa, Khalil Mack. You let me know in the comment section below. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out if you did enjoy this content. And remember to enter the giveaways. It does end on Saturday. We'll catch you next time, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.